Okay, so if you've seen Windows 8.1, then you already know that there's a timer app now that's included, and I want to show it to you. So this is a screenshot I'm running in Windows 8.0 right now. I never thought to call it that, but 8.0. Anyway, it's got this groovy little interaction where you grab a little handle and you move the bar to set the time. I thought we should play around and I'd show you what I would do if I was going to build this myself. Right? I think we can do it in short order. So I'll make it pretty simplistic, just to get the idea across for you. But I think overall, you'll see how it's done, and it's pretty great. XAML makes this sort of thing pretty simple. So let's go to here's my main page. So I'm going to put everything in common. I never really would, but I'm going to be kind of rushing to make sure that I get this in a timely fashion. So the first thing we need is a ring, and kudos to the WinRT toolkit for having this class in it. There's the WinRT toolkit. It's on CodePlex, which is nifty. I could add it through NuGet. Not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to go grab just this one class, and that's all I need is this one class. Let's see. It's a control called the ring slice. Right? So all I really need is all of this. Right? No shame in stealing something here. And the reason I would do it this way is kind of, be honest, to sort of keep it lightweight. I like things to be lightweight, and so adding a whole reference, maybe that's not a big deal, but it's not my thing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and build it. There's going to be one thing here, right there. All right, I'll just take this section out, and the ring slice will work for me now. Very nice. All right, building, 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 and built. Great. So we're halfway there. Not really. All right, so let's build a grid. This is going to be our overall container. And we'll put a whole bunch of things inside this grid. And so the first thing we'll put, let's see, I want to turn the thing. So we'll start without the PySlice just so all of this makes sense to you. And so we'll put a grid that will eventually be transparent, but I will make it a background of red for now, just so we can do some manipulation to it. Width of 400 and a height of 400. Right, so I would just want that box area. I'm going to eventually put a circle in there, or an ellipse, you know what I mean. All right, so here, manipulation mode is going to be translate X, but I also want translate Y, oops, with a comma, translate Y. Now I have both, and then manipulation delta, have it create it for me. Look, no _1. I have update 3 of Visual Studio 2012, and they took away that stupid _1. I love that. Love it. All right. Get that like that. All right, what do we do in here? As the user is moving, I want to take their point, determine the angle, and I want to apply a rotation. So how am I going to do that? Here's the way I would do it, right? I would go to my own personal blog. I would search for Jerry Nixon dial, right? Because I've got that one thing, Jerry Nixon build a sweet dial. This has the logic for that. There it is, it's just an image, so I have to go to code paste, which is just a link right off of it. Right here it is. This will return back for me. I'll just add this as a method here. See what it does? Get angle. I pass in the point where the user is touching, and then I pass back the overall size. So watch this. It's the grid that is moving around, so I say var grid equals var grid equals sender as grid, and then I'll say var transform. I don't want to transform it just yet. Just to say var angle equals get angle e dot position, and then I also want to pass in grid dot render size. All right. Now I've got the angle that needs to be transformed to. What do I want to actually transform? Do I want to transform that block? No, because then this get angle logic would be kind of distorted. Instead, I want to transform something else so that it can maintain its relative position. So look what we're going to do. We know that when we're done, let's go back to the image of what we're going to be copying here, right? We want to be able to touch this little thingamadoodle. And so when I do that, I don't want to have to touch everywhere else and have it respond. So right now, I could touch anywhere in this and it would respond. I don't want that. I only want a certain area. And the way that we can do that is to clip it, right? And so we clip with a rectangle geometry, rectangle of, and then I get to decide the size of that rectangle geometry. Let's do that. So I designed this rect is the actual rectangle. So let me think. This is 400 by 400. So I want to go in 150. I want to go in 150 x and y. 150 by 0. That's the top left corner. Now the bottom right corner is going to be 150 by 150. Is that right? There we are. All right. So it's not quite square. Let me tweak it now a little bit. So I want to go 100. Over there we go. And how far down? 100. That's right. It's height and width, not it's just height and width. All right, so now I've clipped the grid. As I touch the grid anywhere but that clipped area, my finger is ignored, right? Or my touch point. Only when I'm actually touching that little red square, which of course we'll hide later. And by the way, when we do hide it, we can't take it away. We have to set the background to transparent, otherwise it's completely invisible, right? So I'm sure you all knew that. All right, rectangle geometry dot transform, and all right. So this is important. So I'll say this is going to be a composite transformation, and it'll be let me show you what it'll do. Rotation equals 90, right? And it's moved it. Okay, the reason it's not worked correctly is because it is moving it at a 0, 0 axis, the top left. I don't want to do that. I want to move it down in the middle. How do we put it down in the middle? Like this. Center Y. Well, you know, X always seems to come before Y. It's going to be half of that, so we'll say 200. And then center X equals 200, right? Where the top left corner is going to be 0, 0, right? So if I go 200. All right, center X, Y. There we go. All right, now just to make this make sense, I'll highlight the grid so you can see it's tilted now to 90 degrees. If I were going to go like 45, it might make it a little bit more interesting to you, right? So what I'm actually moving here is the touch point, but the grid is still staying the same. Isn't that cool? The clip is what's moving inside the grid, and that is what I will I'll move around. Okay, I hope this makes sense so far. So now I can't touch just anywhere. I can only touch that little block, and it follows my finger as I go in a circle. I just need to make sure now that the thing behind it looks like the thing I actually want to touch. Right? All right. So let's add some logic to make this follow me. That's easy enough. So we'll do this all with a view model. I love doing things with a view model. So I'll create a little view model here. I have a view model snippet. But all of it is implements iNotify property change for me. That's all that it does. I'll create a quick property. It'll be a double is the type, and it'll be angle. Okay. Obviously, if I were making this with a second angle, an hour angle, a minute angle, you know, I would do it more than just angle. I'm just going to do this in one grid, so I'll only have it in one. And so here's the angle, and so I will go up and I'll set the context of this page. I hit F6 by the way to build. That's why it's going to show up. Here's the view model in the list. I'll say go for it. There it is. Now it's there. I can go down to this angle and I can say binding, and it binds to whatever the angle is. Its default is going to be, I think, probably -1. So look, one of the things I have here is just this in designer thing, and so I can say angle equals 90, let's say. No, 45 was really interesting to look at. So we'll make it 45. I'll rebuild. When it does, it'll reprocess it and it'll apply that angle. See, there it is. And where's that angle coming from? Now it's coming from the view model. I can do all the work on the code behind side, not have to interact with the UI directly. I like that a lot. All right. So this is just the grid I'm going to be touching, all right? The touch grid, so to speak. So I'll put this touch grid. There we are. Now I'm going to have the ring, right? That's easy enough. It's going to be in my toolbox, right there. Here's the ring slice. Remember, I added this class. It automatically shows up as a result. There's a couple things I know about this that you don't know, so I'll go ahead and set this up. It has an inner radius, and I'll say that inner radius is 100. It also has an outer radius called radius. I wish it was called outer radius. 150, just to give it a width of 50. We'll give it a fill of green, and then we'll give it, you know what? I'm not going to comment on the color choices they did here, right? I'm not 100% sure I do this, but for the sake of fun, we'll make it pink. It has a start angle. That's where it begins. It's always going to be 0, and it has an angle, or an end angle. That's well named, actually. Of, let's say it's 80. See, there it is. Oh, we can't use pink. That's not. Is there a dark pink? No. Is there a hot pink? Oh, still doesn't actually match, but it's a lot cooler. You know, let's just. This is so important. I'm going to waste time on it. Let's see. More like that. Yeah, might as well make it as ridiculous as, no, I mean, make it match. All right, so here's the ring. See, the end angle is 80. That's where I want it to be. That is not where I want it to be. I want to bind it. Remember, I already have that angle hanging out there because of my view model. I'll bind it to the angle. Now they match one another. That's cool, isn't it? Yes, it is. You were wondering. All right. There's transparent. There we go. All right, so I've gotten the red out of the way, but we'll come back to it, even though we really don't need to. All we really need to do is go up to that little piece here where I determine the angle, and I say this.data context as view model dot angle equals whatever that angle is predetermined. Now it's going to obey. You don't believe me? Let me show you. Simulator. All right, so let's see. This will default at 0, but there will be a transparent block. I should have left it yellow or something so we could see it. Let's see. Did I not hit it? All right, now it's working. All right, very good. Okay, so it's completely hard to see. I don't know. I hit it. I just happened to hit it. All right, see how I move my mouse around? My mouse is down, and it follows because it's setting that angle, and it's just redrawing that pie slice for me, right? Pretty cool, right? Feels like we're halfway there. That's because we are. All right, let's use, well, I don't want to do it in there. All right, design. I love expression design. So easy to use. All right, so I will say file, new. Make it 500 by 500. I'm going to want a circle. Right? There's a perfect, I'm holding down shift to make sure it's perfect. And look, I can go over to this guy, and I could say pull that baby down. Right? Because it's a 4-point is what it really is. And 4 arcs is what the circle really is. Anyway, so then I go to this little tool that allows me to convert that anchor point so it is pointed. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, right? So I can say the outline, I don't want an outline, the fill, just so I'll fill for a second. I want that. That's the thing I'm going to touch. If I were to go back to they've used kind of a circle with a point. I don't want to take forever to draw it. So let's just go. I'm going to change that back to white because it'll look better on our. Is that a little too much? Doesn't matter. Look, I can go edit, copy, XAML. That's exactly what I want to do. Go back to my XAML now. And let's see. I need to put that right here. Bam! All right. See it? Bam! Way too big. It doesn't have to be in a canvas, first of all. That's the first thing. Since it's not in a canvas, I don't need this canvas left, canvas right. I don't care about that anymore. I do care about a vertical top and horizontal center. Of course, that was defaulted, but I wanted to make sure of it. And then the size is clearly wrong. The width needs to be more like 100, and the height needs to be more like 150. No. I got that totally wrong. All right, the width needs to be more like 50. Yeah, that's better. And the width and the height, let's see, 150? It looks a little skewed, Jerry. All right, so what to do here? I want to make it so it's not goofy looking, but I don't want to make it enormous. 75. I should have taken a little more time to make it. How about 60? Good enough, right? Good enough for government work. That's the thing I'm going to be grabbing. Fantastic. And I want it to tilt. You know the way I'm going to do that? I'm going to put it inside a grid. Because in a minute I'm going to want to do a little more. All right, so there's my path. You can see that it's there. The grid now needs to move and follow. Easy enough. Grid. Let me do it in the designer so you can see it. I'm on the grid. I'll hit F4. I'll go to transform. I'll go down to right here, angle. Angle, I'm going to bind it. So I click that little box, go to create data binding, bind it to angle, and look, wham, it's right where you want it to be. Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's really cool. All right, so now I'll add a, let's add a text box, right? I meant, of course, to say text block. And it'll also have a horizontal of center and a vertical of top and a font size of 24. About foreground of black because it'll default to white. And the text equals Jerry. All right. See where it is? That's really nice. All right. So obviously I don't want it to be Jerry. For the sake of now, we'll bind it to the angle, right? Which is sort of weird, honestly. Let's give it a little top margin. That'll pop it down. Margin 0, 0, 0, 0. The top one will be right here. 10. How about 10? No? Yeah? 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 No. Let's not use margin to do it. Right? I'm totally into transforms right now, so let's use transforms. We'll just take the Y and roll it down until it's centered and beautiful. Right? Translate transform is the bomb. Right? That's the way to move stuff around on the screen after all. All right, so now I've got that. You see what's going on? In fact, I want to show you that this works. So I'll go ahead and run it again. All right, let's see. That's nice. That's really nice. All right, there it is. Something to grab. I grab it. It moves. It's a decimal, so it's kooky looking. But as I move it, see that? I'm practically there. Hopefully you see that I'm practically there. Now let's do some fun things. The first thing I would do, I would say, let's create a converter. Add new class. We'll call this a negative converter, just like that. And it will be a I-value property changed. I always wonder why I haven't created a snippet for this one too, because I only typed this a million times. Let's see. I'll let it. There we are. Implement it for me. Why won't it implement it for me? I-value property, not I-value property changed. I-value converter. Much better. Much better. It's not an I-value property changed. It's I-value converter. All right, so this is basically going to return. This is my negative converter. I want to take a number. I want to make it a negative. Why do I want to make it a negative? Wait and see. All right, so I'll say system.convert.toDouble. I'm going to be passing in the angle, value. And to make it negative, I'll just say negative, just like that. All right, this is all the converter is going to do. It's not very fancy. Now I go to this text block. See this? I'll go down to the transform the text block, which also has a rotation. I want that text block to rotate, but I want it to rotate at the opposite of the actual angle, the negative. So here we go. Create data binding on the angle. So far, so good. And I want to use a converter. Of course, it doesn't see it yet. I'll go pick it up. It'll add it for me. I'll say OK. Boom. See how it's perfect? Let's do it again. All right. Run. Grab it. And look how it stays upright. Oh, gosh, I love that. I love that. That is so cool. I mean, really, isn't that nice? That's really nice. All right. Let's see. I got to fix the decimal thing. Actually, I don't even want to show that. That's not what I want to show. In fact, let's go to my view model here. Of course, it should be in another file. I put it right below my class, didn't I? But that's just the way it goes. All right, so now angle, when angle is set, it's going to set another property called, it'll be an integer to keep it nice and clean, and it'll be, we'll call it value for now, right? It might be second, it might be minute, it might be hour, however you're actually implementing this. It may not be even time, right? You want to use this for something that has nothing to do with time. That's cool. All right, so whenever the angle is set, right? So for the sake of making sure this is done right, I'll make the value private, so nobody sets value. They only can set the angle. So when the angle is set, then I want to calculate the value, and so value equals, oh no, value, see that capitalization problem, equals, all right, so they're going to pass in the angle. We're going to go with it like it's minutes for now, okay, minutes. So it'll be, value will be value, value equals value times, let's see, so 36 times, so I need to do a divides by 6. Is that right? Yeah, that's 100% right. All right, so that is the number of minutes. That's totally perfect. All right, why am I getting a little action here? Because I can't convert it by, no problem. I'll do it like this. Now I can't convert it into it. All right, go with, wait, that's not going to work, but that will. Bam, bam, and it'll do the division, and then it'll just round it up, or round it into an integer for me. That will set my value every time the angle is, so I want to bind now to value, that text box, I want it to be bound to value, no longer to angle, so it's nice and pretty. That's right there. And that's telling me how many minutes it is. In fact, for the sake of showing you what you would ultimately do, you would do this. You would say run text binding to value, and you would probably do something like add a minute symbol after it. Wow, I can tell that the font size is going to be way too big. Let's try dial it to 18. All right, that's nice. All right, let's see what that does. So really, all we're doing is translating it into how many minutes it is. Look, right here should be 15, right? See down here to 30, and all the way up to 60. That's nice. That's really nice. Then in the middle is where we would have, see how we're practically done, right? This is going to be the little touch thing, the little finger, little, what do you call that? I don't know. The thing, right? And then the last thing we would have is the text block here in the middle that would say, now it's going to be centered, right? So vertical center, horizontal center. Font size is going to be big, like 32. And then here we'll do the same thing as before, but I'll just show you what would have happened, what else you could do if you had two of these. Text equals 12 hours and run text. Oops. Run text, and we'll bind it value to minutes. See how it looks in there? That's nice. That's really nice. Foreground gray, let's say, and then I can change these babies to have foreground white, so that they kind of pop a little more. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it will hopefully. See? And so now run. Here's run. See how it's right in the middle like that? Very similar. I'm going to pull back up the picture so we can look at it again. See what it does? See how they do it? They do it with a colon. Whatever. I mean, you could do it with a colon too. I just didn't do it that way. Right? So right there, I would repeat this then with the hours, and I would make sure that the outermost came first, and then the innermost was later, so that the z-index, and it would always prefer the one that was on top. If that makes sense? That looked like it was on top. There it is. Boy, that's simple, isn't it? I mean, now I've got basically the same effect that the Windows 8 timer has. I could add another ring, of course, that would handle hour. Use the exact same logic over. And by the way, I'll just help you out. Yeah, you know right here, right here where I did a quick divide by 6, and that's how I knew which minute it was. It'd be a divide by 30 to figure out what the hour was, if this was hours instead of minutes. And then you're done. Life is easy. I'll put all this on my blog so you can have the code, and best of luck.